Hi, welcome to Take 5, where we daily consider devotional thoughts from Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest. Today is November 15th, and the title of today's devotional is, What is that to you? Jesus said to him, What is that to you? You follow me. John 21, verses 21 and 22. How often do we observe people finding it easier to run someone else's life than their own? They will say things like, if it were me, I would do this, or here's what you ought to do, and like statements. It's easier to mind other people's business, but we shouldn't. Dr. Chambers begins with, one of the hardest lessons to learn comes from our stubborn refusal to refrain from interfering in other people's lives. It takes a long time to realize the danger of being an amateur providence, that is, interfering with God's plan for others. Not only is it none of our business, Dr. C is pointing out how we can be interfering with the plan of God for someone. He continues, you see, someone's suffering and say, he will not suffer and I will make sure that he doesn't. You put your hand right in front of God's permissive will to stop it. And then God says, what is that to you? Dr. C is saying that not all suffering through which individuals go is not from God. And it's not ours to try and eliminate. We likely are all familiar with the fact of the butterfly emerging from the cocoon. It's necessary for them to struggle and fight on their own to get out of their wrapping, so to strengthen their wings. If assistance is offered them in exiting the shell, it will weaken their ability to fly and they will suffer an early death. Struggling through adversity can strengthen and train us in our walk in Christ. Don't always jump out to keep someone from going through a tough time. It could weaken their wings. In modern society, at times it's called tough love, the allowing of someone to go through hardships, normally which they have brought upon themselves, so they have to learn from God on their own. Chambers asks, is there stagnation in your spiritual life? Don't allow it to continue, but get into God's presence and find out the reason for it. The only one who can tell you why you aren't growing spiritually is God, and a place to learn it is in prayer. O.C. says that hindered spiritual growth could possibly be coming from your interfering in the life of another, proposing things you had no right to propose, or advising when you had no right to advise. One may never before had given consideration that they were actually interrupting God by handing out advice, especially unprayed about solutions. What you are telling someone may not at all be what God has in mind. However, states Chambers, when you do have to give advice to another person, God will advise you through the direct understanding of His Spirit. Your part is to maintain the right relationship with God so that His discernment can come through you continually for the purpose of blessing someone else. Always make sure your advice comes from God, and this confidence comes from the maintaining a strong personal relationship with Him. So the question may arise of how does one get that strong relationship with God? And this is what Chambers addresses next. He states, most of us live only within the level of consciousness, consciously serving and consciously devoted to God. This shows immaturity in the fact that we're not yet living the real Christian life. This is the having of a rather stilted walk as a Christian, needing to make decisions and choices of right versus wrong. You still have to think about it instead of it being a flow from within by His Spirit's leadership. It's not yet a natural lifestyle. Chambers continues, maturity is produced in the life of a child of God on the unconscious level. Until we become so totally surrendered to God that we are not even aware of being used by Him. When we are consciously aware of being used as a broken bread and poured out wine, we have yet another level to reach, a level where all awareness of ourselves and of what God is doing through us is completely eliminated. A saint is never consciously a saint. A saint is consciously dependent on God. Thanks for being here today. Now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for His highest. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks now. Bye.